line coming into UC Riverside right now. He's done a good job recruiting internationally and has the Highlanders much improved this season. Orenze Cheatham will take the opening tip against Tuka Jacola, and it's won by Cal Poly, and we are underway here on a Thursday night in the Big West Conference.
Again, Trent, two programs that are looking to establish themselves, coaches in the nascent stages of rebuilding their programs.
Keith Smith is Jamal Smith's nephew, or John Smith's nephew. He's got the ball right now. Jamal Smith comes as a starter as well for Cal Poly. He wears number 25. That's John's son. Meanwhile, a foul here against Riverside, so Cal Poly will keep it. Orenze Cheatham wears number 1. You could argue he's one of their best players. Had to sit the first 11 games of the season, a Washington State transfer, but has struggled. He's only scored 5 points each of the last 2 games. Called a shooting foul, so Jacola to the stripe.
Jacola from the free throw line on the season, just 56%, 32 of 57 entering tonight.
Jacola gets both. From Finland, when we talked with John Smith before about the cupboard that he inherited from the previous regime, he says of those that came back last year, Jacola may be one of the biggest surprises, and he's had a good season, averaging 7.5 points a game. There's Cheatham down low, slips off the iron.
You'd expect Cal Poly to be feeling it here, Trent, with John Smith, his return to Riverside.
Taken away by Kabellis, the Pacific transfer. UC Riverside, one of the best defensive teams in the Big West. You could argue maybe second only to UC Irvine as Cheatham travels. Cal Poly won here a season ago, one of just 2 Big West wins for them in the 2018-19 season.
Both teams in man-to-man defense early on here.
Taken away by Kabellis. Behind the back, Cheatham lays it in.
Beautiful look by Kabellis. So magnanimous in transition.
Thrown away. Silly turnover there by Cal Poly. I tell you what, Bill, you alluded to this in the open. Cal Poly is rested coming in. They played a week ago in Honolulu, a game that they nearly won, and that was after upsetting CSUN. Cal Poly came into this Big West part of the schedule with just 3 wins, and a lot of people thought they were going to be a bottom feeder, but they have been much better than that. Meanwhile, Angus McWilliams scores for Riverside.
Great execution offensively there by the Highlanders. Cal Poly slightly late on the rotation, and UC Riverside takes advantage.
Cal Poly likes to play much higher tempo than UC Riverside does. They've struggled in the half court.
Coach Smith told us, Trent, shooting for 1 point per possession. They're at .89 heading into tonight.
Jamal Smith, the Cal State Fullerton transfer, came over with dad from that Titan program a year ago, knocks down the 3.
Such good coaching in the conference. Over at Fullerton.
NCAA tournament appearance 2 years ago. Was in the Big West Tournament Championship game last season. Dedrick Taylor's staff. He's got a coaching tree now. John Smith at Cal Poly and Danny Sprinkle, now the head coach at Montana State, his alma mater. Shot by Tacola is off the mark.
That's a sign of good coaching.
McWilliam to the basket, lays it in.
Now, for Cal Poly, that's a little bit too easy. These points in the paint are coming a little bit too quickly and easily for the Highlanders.
Malik Harwell gets bumped. It's going to go against Pickett. This is the second against Riverside. No foul so far against Cal Poly here in the early goings.
What a great story Pickett is.
Yeah.
Former manager working his way onto the floor. I know Megan will have more for us on that in a bit.
Well, shoot, he was the Big West Player of the Week the first week of Big West play. Had a couple of games in double figures.
That's absolutely tremendous.
Keith Smith off the mark. Kimbe Martin gets that rebound. You highlighted him earlier. Now in a new role, coming off the bench. Goes to show you the depth now at UC Riverside that they haven't had in a long time as McWilliam gets fouled, so he'll get a couple here.
And he's embraced that role, Trent. Talk about maturity and recognizing that it is we over me. This is a guy who's put up 1,200 points in his career here at UC Riverside. Martin has.
Angus McWilliam, a sophomore from Australia, transfer from TCU, gets the first free throw. That is a theme, by the way, of this UC Riverside team. Players that DP is familiar with. David Patrick, players in Australia, New Zealand, a lot of international flavor on this roster, and also the TCU connection, not just McWilliam, but also Zach Watson, who started 2/3 of their games a season ago, now is a role player just trying to hang on to a rotation spot. Would have gone to TCU, instead decided to join David Patrick here at UC Riverside.
Always recruiting, Trent. That's a mainstay amongst college coaches.
Patrick from Australia really started that for Randy Bennett at St. Mary's, and that's really become something special, and trying to bring that over.
And you know how it goes. If the honeymoon is good, the marriage is going to be great. You know all about that. Little zone look here from Riverside.
Makes the defense miss the shot. Come the Highlanders. Martin's got that good step back. Martin launching. No good. That's going to take us to a timeout where Riverside with the first shot. Here to start this game. They got a 3-point lead early on. Punchers feel each other out right now. Would be one of the top 1 or 2 teams in the conference coming in.
Well, listen, this game will keep you humble, will keep you hungry. I've said it so often. It's the mercurial, fickle Big West, and this year, not disappointing. And Trent, how about UC Irvine, obviously a team you're so familiar with? We're unable to get there, but what a run for Russ Turner and his crew.
As Jamal Smith knocks down the jumper. Yeah, I mean, what UC Irvine's dominance has been the last 6 years, 4 Big West regular season titles. They have not finished worse than second in the last 6 years. 2 NCAA tournament appearances, 31 wins a year ago. It's remarkable what they have done. And every program in this league trying to follow that model. Meanwhile, Khy Kabellis knocks down a left corner 3.
Nice touch by Kabellis. And you know, you talk about compete level, or at least Kenny Atkinson does, the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, and I'm sure Russell Turner will be reinforcing that for Saturday when Cal Poly comes to visit.
Yeah, I don't think Cal Poly is going to want any part of Irvine on Saturday, and it maybe puts a little bit more intensity on urgency anyway to win this game here tonight. They're all important.
And we talked about that too with Coach Smith, the road trip. You like to get that first win, of course, if you can, certainly to set the tone for the trip.
McWilliam gets another. Let's check in with Megan Reason.
Well, in that last time out, John Smith really emphasized ball movement, talking about the offensive balance. They really want to see this ball move around on the court, and he wants this team to play with a little bit more muscle, not just on the offensive end. He wants them to play a little tougher defensively as well.
Thank you, Megan. And yeah, that's something that you want to, kind of what you were talking about before. First game of the week, you didn't have to play last night. You see all the upsets of last night, and Cal Poly's got to be thinking, well, why not us? Why couldn't we win here this evening in Riverside?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question about that. And you always, as a coach and as a staff, you know, you're not sure how your team is going to respond with that week off. But like anything else, Trent, it's about turning the page and hoping that the things you've been reinforcing in practice carry over.
Shot no good inside by Junior Ballard. Ballard, their sophomore, one of the leaders coming off the bench. Khy Kabellis. Pulls up, misses. Second chance now. Wide open is Manning, and he's got John Smith's got to call a timeout. UC Riverside has themselves on an 8-2 run.
Well,
against CSUN, a team that is currently third in the Big West, but Cal Poly's got a lot to figure out. And when you get punched in the mouth like this, like what UC Riverside is doing at the moment, you got to be able to show that toughness and be willing to fight back.
Yeah, Cal Poly had the international trip, and Coach Smith, you know, he talks about the fact that he's changing lives and he's focused on the process and long term, but certainly you want to collect those wins as often as you can.
Nolan Taylor with the dish to Job Alexander.
Alexander has only attempted 2 3-point field goals this season, so you can afford to play off him, but he contributes here early off the bench.
This is just the 4th game back for Noah Taylor, and he is a bruiser underneath. Taken away by Alexander for the lay-in.
The late Rick Majerus would call Alexander an anticipatory defender in the passing lane. Beautiful finish in transition. Cal Poly looking to bounce here, Trent.
They like the high possessions. UC Riverside's been the team that's been grinding out. They take a lot of threes. There's another one missed by DJ McDonald. No team in the conference takes more threes than Riverside. Meanwhile, knocking down the trade, Junior Ballard for the Mustangs, and a timeout called by UCR. How about this run from Cal Poly here? Mention the games you just brought up, San Jose State and Fresno State, but then they lose by 49 at Air Force right before conference play begins. Then they come out, win 2 Big West games, and then they've lost 2 since. They've kind of been the Jekyll and Hyde team of this conference so far. Inside Poland, trying to get the slam was McWilliam. He gets it. We'll get a pair of free throws here.
You've got to love, after the media timeout, that play drawn up and executed beautifully. And we're seeing Angus McWilliam. He is rangy. Look at him calling for it there. And remember, as UB Brown says, the rotation, the roll man is the rotation man's responsibility. Now, you know that Coach Smith is going to go over this at halftime, and they're going to dial this in. But in the meantime, it's been really good execution by UC Riverside. They've gotten this play and this look a number of times. McWilliam, the beneficiary.
Riverside's been efficient. They made 6 of their first 11 shots in this game. McWilliam, with that free throw now, has 7 points.
Speaking of 7 points, Trent, 7 points off the bench for Cal Poly, 4 from Alexander, 3 from Ballard.
So here comes Cal Poly, set up their offense. Riverside playing some tight defense. Taylor underneath, unable to get it done. Megan Reason was just hanging out by that Cal Poly bench, Riverside bench, talking about the defense.
Talking about that, Cal Poly really does a good job of competing and playing hard. They're really good in transition. Their players can fly up at you. Their post players are coming on late as well, so if we don't do a better job of guarding in the paint, they can hurt us. That 7-0 run, Trent, 4 of them coming in the paint.
Thank you for that, Megan. And yeah, they, again, don't love to shoot a lot of threes, though. They'll take this one. That was way off.
And what Megan's talking about, Trent, is, you know, the shell drill, ball you man, the fundamentals. Sometimes, you know, it looks so easy on tape and you have so many teachable moments, but to inculcate this into your roster takes time. When you've got new coaches who are trying to put their stamp on the program, it takes some time. I mean, we see Russell Turner again 10 years in, and it's just a staple, that toughness, that defense and rebounding that's so portable. So it's really fun to watch with the stumbles along the way.
Cheatham, the up and under, gets it. Meanwhile, for Cal Poly, somebody to keep an eye on tonight is Colby Rogers. He has got the ball now, number 3. He is somebody that may be a contender for Big West Freshman of the Year.
No question, Trent. He's out of Mustangs early in his freshman campaign.
A Rosella powerhouse, 17th team and ranked team in the country according to USA Today. In a high school game a year ago. Right now, Ezra Mannion at UC Davis is going to get a lot of attention for that honor. And, you talk to the Cal Poly folks, they think Colby Rogers can be in that same conversation. Cheatham goes to the deck, gets fouled on the shot. So we'll get a pair of free throws here.
And so much of the story yet to be written. We're in the middle of the movie right now. The trends, the ebbs and flows of the conference, the matchups, the travel, the academics, the family responsibilities, Trent. Can you block that out when you step on the floor for practice, as well as when the lights are on and when Trent Rush is in the building?
I feel like we're at that part of the horror movie, you know, when like the family is like all getting along and everything is going great and it's all sunshine and rainbows. That's the part of the movie I like. But I mean, we are way early in this thing, and here we are at the quarter post essentially of conference play, and really, and this can be said for pretty much every team in the Big West Conference, or one big league. Non-conference play only means so much. It's these conference games. Winning a Big West championship is what's important, and what's most important isn't even the league play. It's winning those 3 days in March at Honda Center to get to the dance.
Exactly. And, you know, just that daily preparation and getting better. It's like the street sign back in Jersey. No stopping, no standing. That's life in the Big West.
Rogers, way off the mark. Last touch by Cal Poly. It'll be UC Riverside basketball. Cheatham is kind of in the neighborhood there. I think the officials are wanting to see if maybe he got a hand on it.
And notice, Trent, how Cal Poly has been stuck on 14 here for a while. So UC Riverside is settled in here a little bit defensively.
And here we are 3 minutes into this game, or into this segment where they haven't scored. Foul's going to be on Colby Rogers.
It's really a pleasure spending time with both coaches, and Coach Smith talking about just the great outpouring of emotion with him accepting this job, and talked about catching up with the Almonds at the Wooden Classic. The Fullerton Boosters miss him, but certainly Cal Poly's gain.
Angus McWilliam fouled, so he'll go back to the stripe here. It's going to be on Tuka Jacola. I'll actually call this one on the ground. Yeah, the Titans really had something special with Dedrick Taylor and John Smith and Danny Sprinkle, and they went through a lot of ups and downs. I mean, they had some like 2-win seasons, you know, when it comes to conference games, and you know they really struggled at Cal State Fullerton, and then in that 2018 season to get to the NCAA tournament, and you know here we are 2 years removed from that. 3 head coaches from that staff, and they really built Cal State Fullerton from nothing when Taylor took over. So they have been through it all, and now John Smith trying to replicate that with his own program here at Cal Poly.
Absolutely. And you see McWilliam here, Trent, doing such great work in the paint, the footwork, and the ability to seal and be such a wide target for his backcourt players, teammates.
McWilliam inside through the contact.
Yeah, he's a conundrum. He is a problem right now for Cal Poly.
He's averaged 13 points a game since he's become a starter. This is his 5th straight start. Knocked away from Colvin.
Tough matchup zone by UC Riverside. Highlanders looking to once again pull away.
It's going to be against Keith Smith.
But again, can Cal Poly respond? Again, it's a game of creating, sustaining, and surviving runs. We know that.
Cal Poly has not scored in the last 4.5 minutes. I hear Zion Pullen at the line from Pleasant Hill, California. He's had 3 games in double figures this year, but held to just a point in the Highlanders' loss at UC Irvine 69-53 in a game in which UC Riverside out-rebounded UC Irvine. Left that free throw shy, and Riverside hasn't been a great rebounding team this year. Neither of these squads has been there. Cal Poly has actually been one of the worst rebounding teams in America. Smith. Shake and bake from Martin.
Nice poise on this possession.
Big man go to work, gets stopped by Karoma. He's got that 7'2" wingspan for the rejection. Layup missed on the other end. And the putback is there. Alamani Karoma gets it done, the freshman.
Opportunistic, good finish. Obviously, you have confidence in your teammates, but that follow-up by your bigs is key. Cal Poly finally scores again, Trent.
Cheatham ran into a lot of traffic there and gets bumped. That's going to take us to a timeout. Well, Cal Poly went close to 5 minutes without a bucket. They find
from the free throw line. McWilliam is perfect. 3 of 3, 3 of 4 from the free throw line for 9 points. Cheatham gets there now.
Cheatham now is 7. It's the first free throw. It's a really interesting basketball dynamic here in the city of Riverside. You have this UC Riverside program with a new, energetic coach, somebody that comes in, is a great recruiter, really trying to turn the culture around. Meanwhile, there's another school right across town in Cal Baptist who's really been on the rise of late as well. So there's a really interesting rivalry developing in Riverside, and the Riverside area, which at least especially in the last 10, 15 years or so, has been a really hotbed for talents in Southern California. Now you're seeing that translate at the college level, and I think that we're just seeing the very surface of what's to come for college basketball in this area.
Yeah, I absolutely concur. Credit to the coaches and the players and the staffs that are recruiting, reaching out to the community. So many constituencies to dedicate your time to, and future really bright here in the IE.
Shot off the mark by the freshman Karoma. UC Riverside on an 11-2 run. Trying to build on that. Cal Poly's missed 7 of the last 8 shots.
Good recovery there on the pick and roll. Good coverage.
Nearly thrown away by Kabellis, but saved by, don't call me Dragon, Elkins. 3 ball. It's good. Dikembe Martin step back magic.
Just great offense beating great defense. Martin draining that difficult shot late in the shot clock. This is a critical time for Cal Poly here, Trent.
Kabellis trying to get it underneath, but a push.
Now I've been accused of hyperbole in the past, but still, you're down in the last 5 minutes. But you're trailing by 14. You're on the road. You've only scored 2 points in like the last 7 or 8 minutes. So from that standpoint, you have to be cognizant of that on the floor. And perhaps you get to the free throw line. You want to maintain, again, what are the keys? Playing with pace, but also with that IQ. It's like you have to treat the ball like gold and protect it, but you also have to maintain your aggression.
As David Patrick looks on right now, I tell you what, this UC Riverside team here in the first half looks like a good basketball team that's not happy they've lost back-to-back games. And they're taking that out right now on this Cal Poly squad.
That's exactly the mentality Coach Patrick wants and expects.
Good ball movement, leads to a 3, and it's good. Mark Crow hits it.
Cal Poly's gotten some good efforts off the bench. And Ballard, Alexander, and now Crow contributing.
Crow's used to getting playing time. He had the second most minutes of any Mustang a season ago. And now in a new role coming off the bench, the new head coach is John Smith looking for an explanation here.
That's how it goes for most players, Trent, too, that you have these ups and downs throughout your career. It's like 90% of life is how you respond to the 10% is what happens to you.
First free throw no good by DJ McDonald. Kind of reminds me of, you mentioned I spent a lot of time with the UC Irvine program. They have the rule, the 1 second rule. When you get knocked down, you got 1 second to get right back up. And I think that's a good life lesson for anything.
Absolutely. I just love picking up these nuggets. You got to write that down, Trent. The 1 second rule.
I want all of your Hubie Brown notes. That's what I want.
That is very vast and varied. The Hall of Famer. Like, when you play at a slow pace, you must shoot a high percentage.
Yeah.
Okay, just pearls of wisdom in its simplicity.
It's like the Yogi Berra of college basketball. There's Pickett back in the game. Taylor, the offensive lineman.
Talk about perseverance. Taylor with so many injuries he's fought through.
Back-to-back threes for Mark Crow has Cal Poly back in business, only down 10.
You know, sometimes you see it go through a couple of times. You feel like you're Jamal Murray, like Michael Malone with the Nuggets says. He thinks he's seeing a hula hoop out there. That's what Crow is feeling it now. Let's see if that'll get him to percolate.
Crow's only averaging 3 points a game this season. Meanwhile, a foul here goes against UC Riverside in transition. I think Cal Poly's probably saying, no, don't blow the whistle. We had a fast break chance. Right there, they got taken away, but it's the 6th against UC Riverside. Next one will put Cal Poly in the bonus. Riverside already in the double bonus.
And you alluded to the fact earlier, Trent, that wins have been tough to come by for Cal Poly. They are 1-12 when trailing at the half. Here, down 10 with a little over 5 minutes to go in the first 20 minutes.
Smith gets stuffed. Taylor, second chance. Noah Taylor, the big fella, scores inside.
Great strength by Taylor out of Keller, Texas, via Pepperdine.
Nolan Taylor is a beast.
See him communicating here on the pick and roll. Shows and recovers well on McWilliam, who we know how tough he's been.
Khy Kabellis answers. Well, that'll stop the 8-1 run. Taylor drawing a double, unable to finish. Khy Kabellis, the hot hand.
Coach Patrick told us, Trent, how important it is to have a tough four in this league like McWilliam is. Kind of talked about Galloway, now departed from UC Irvine, but McWilliam kind of that mold of player, two-way player.
That's a walk. Some fancy footwork right there. It's going to take us to a timeout. Well, Cal Poly went on that 8-1 run to climb back into it, but Mark Crow's three. When you think about high IQ basketball players, that's these two. That's part of why John Smith wanted Jamal to join him up at Cal Poly, where he gets a chance to work on his master's degree, a fifth-year grad transfer. He brings that basketball IQ, and then the Pickett story you alluded to earlier starts as a manager, then a walk-on, and finds his way being a really important player for UC Riverside. Two really cool stories, and you know, no surprise they've had an influence like John Smith in their lives for so many years.
Yeah, it's just great stuff. Terrific. Small world. Chemistry carries over on and off the floor. Trent, Cal Poly, they only make about 4.6 threes per night, but they already have 4 here in the first half. Propelled, of course, by Crow's 2 of 2 from downtown. 1 each from Ballard and Jamal Smith.
UC Riverside has the most made threes in the Big West, where Cal Poly has the fewest. Yet tonight, it's even. Though Riverside's up 11 and trying to add on here with DJ McDonald.
Yeah, both teams really shooting it, Trent. 4 of 8 from downtown are the Highlanders. 4 of 7 for the Mustangs thus far. So they see a renewed emphasis on defending the 3 by both teams.
The difference has been the twos. UC Riverside 11 for 18 overall. And Cal Poly 9 for 24. Five for 17 on 2 is not going to get it done. $13-point differential right now. That matches the largest lead of the night for UC Riverside.
Tough matchup there Taylor and McWilliam going at it in the painted area.
Nolan Taylor's going to have a couple more years of eligibility. Transfer from Pepperdine. Had not scored. The Mustangs, tight loss in Honolulu a week ago. Rattles in the first free throw. It's just his fourth game back. And after they lost Hank Hollingsworth earlier this season, Cal Poly's really been missing that bruiser inside, and Taylor is that.
Yeah, he's had a significant impact tonight on both ends of the floor.
Lorenzo Cheatham off the mark. Fighting for his own rebound and jump ball. Possession arrow belongs to Riverside, so the Highlanders will keep it.
So again, who will grab the steering wheel here? Final 3:18, 12-point deficit. Will Riverside extend? Will Cal Poly bounce? Good job on the baseline out of bounds. You know, this is something that was worked on at shoot around this morning.
3 to shoot. Cheatham, 2 seconds. Can't get the roll. Fought for and a 1 by McCray and a second chance. That was all Callum McCray inside.
Yeah, great effort.
Poland pulls up. No. Islanders have missed 4 of the last 5.
We see Cal Poly here in transition, looking to really get out and run, if possible.
Someday, I hope I can dance like how Junior Ballard just tiptoed his way towards the basket.
Excellent footwork by
Ballard, a sophomore. His brother Jason played at Colorado, still playing overseas. Gets the first of 2 free throws. Ballard started every non-conference game, but since Big West play has began, he's been in a new role coming off the bench.
The Stockton area, Modesto Christian High School.
They got a good football team there, Modesto Christian. Crow fighting for it. He's last to touch it. Highlanders will take it back.
You know, taking a look at Morgan last night, some really talented young front court players in the Big West.
It's been a guards league for a while, but I'm glad you brought that up. There are some good young big men coming back into this league. Great dish, and McCray with the finish after Khy Kabellis found him.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. And on cue, McCray delivering the big. It's definitely striking to me, Trent, the improvement in the bigs in the conference.
Air ball there. Second chance, that doesn't go either. Rice.
Good second effort by Rice. I like that.
Kabellis converts. And UC Riverside is their biggest lead. They're up 16. Same thing on the monitor. It was just a basketball action. And unfortunately, Rice on the wrong end of it. But no call. We'll play on 42-26.
Yeah, great job by the crew to check it out. Just to be thorough. Exactly. Very well done. And Hope Rice, of course, bounces.
Ballard takes a 3. Nobody hates long replays more than I do, but there are some times when it's necessary. I felt that was necessary.
Absolutely.
The double on McCray. That's going to leave a man open. Martin is that man and converts.
See, that's the problem. You double down, as you astutely observed, but then they find Martin for the 3.
Good take there by Joe Alexander. He gets bumped by McCray. So the foul on Callum McCray is going to be his second. McWilliam leading the way with Kabellis 9 apiece. Cheatham and Martin have added 8 each. It's been a four-headed monster for UC Riverside, who has put up 45 points. Still a minute 13 to go here in the first.
And you look at Kabellis and Martin, Trent, 5 of 6 from downtown. So again, for Cal Poly, it'll be interesting to see their defensive adjustments at halftime.
Alexander with the miss. Second chance, Karoma converts. I really like Alamami Karoma.
I'll tell you, that was excellent work by Karoma. Now, McWilliam did not use his body to box out, and Karoma, he says, listen, I'm going to make a statement here. Opportunistic on the offensive glass. Look at him work. And you can just see the individual skill development there by Karoma. That's hours in the gym working. It doesn't happen by accident.
From Sierra Leone in Africa, small country, northwest part, the African continent.
I remember Jackie Kabah at Seton Hall when my brother was an assistant there. Played for the Pirates in the same region of the world.
Elkaz the miss. Second chance fought for by Kabellis.
Kabellis has been everywhere. He's really done a little bit of everything tonight. He's got that great sixth sense for the ball. Why not?
Silky. Khy Kabellis with a dozen.
Kabellis, I like his attitude too. He's very businesslike. He's very perfunctory. You know what I mean? He's like, he could be in here playing at lunchtime and he trains it just like he's training it here in Big West Conference play. I like it. He acts like he's been here before.
I would say, I thought Cal Poly, after they didn't get the rebound, looked really disjointed defensively.
Yes.
There was a breakdown.
There was. Absolutely, Trent. Very well done by you, because there was a little bit of a communication breakdown. And that's something, again, that'll need to be cleaned up, because Riverside will make you pay.
48-29. This one was tight early. Trying to earn it in this league. It's Alexander to the basket. Can't score it. Final 5 seconds. Riverside will get one more shot if they want it. Poland's got to get rid of it. Does in time. And just left it shy, but still a 48-point first half for UC Riverside. The Highlanders unconscious, 58%. RC Arena, the site for some college hoops on a Thursday in the Big West Conference. 48-29. All Highlanders here as we get ready for the start of the second half. Cal Poly will have possession as things get underway here for half number 2. Bill, what does Cal Poly have to do to try to pick up the pieces in the second half?
Yeah, well, they've got to score consistently, get better quality shots, and they must defend the Highlanders all over the floor. Good start there offensively.
Yeah, Jamal Smith able to knock that down as Dominic Pickett will bring the ball up.
And of course, Trent, it's one possession at a time if you're Cal Poly. You want to shoot for those turkeys, get those 3 consecutive stops, but literally one possession at a time.
Cheatham left all alone, and it's off the mark. Second chance, and a putback is good. McWilliam able to score it. Megan Reza caught up with Cal Poly's head coach John Smith a moment ago, and here now that conversation.
Thank you, Coach. Riverside shot for a pretty high clip that first half. What are the defensive adjustments you're looking to make?
We got to stay closer to, shooters on ball screen, and we got to do a better job in our rotations. We're a little bit slow in our rotation, and Kabellis is just shooting the lights out. He hasn't done it all year, and he picked a night to shoot it well, so we got to adjust to that.
Could you give me a little update on how Jared Rice is doing, the eye injury?
He's probably out for the game. It's completely lacerated eye.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, guys, back out to you.
And that is tough news for Rice, and you just hope he is okay. Meanwhile, inside, Harwell is stuffed, and we appreciate Megan Reza for checking on that for us. To the basket goes Pickett, and he talks about Khy Kabellis. Kabellis 4 from 4 from downtown here in the first half.
Trent, he came into tonight shooting 12% from 3. Coach Smith talked about it with Megan.
Yeah.
Coming out party for him.
Can't get the fifth. The tip was nearly good there by McWilliam. Couldn't get it. McWilliam in double figures as well. He's got 11 with 4 rebounds.
That's kind of how this game started, Trent. I felt as though Riverside did a great job getting in the interior, in the painted area, getting easy baskets there. That opened up the perimeter game for the Kabellis of the world to make their presence felt, not to mention Martin.
I thought Karoma's body language on that last turnover said a lot about how Cal Poly's feeling right now. Just kind of hung his head in frustration. Pickett now launching. No good. Cheatham fought for it, another chance. Taken away by Keith Smith, the nephew of John Smith. Good crossover. Can't get it. Second chance.
Again, Cal Poly, a team that is just 1-12 this season when trailing at the half.
A lot of contact there. Harwell's going to get a couple of free throws. The senior transfer from Boise State.
And of course, the free throw differential in the first half, UC Riverside 11 of 15, 5 of 10 Cal Poly. So of course, you like to get to the line and get some good looks, try to inch your way back into this.
Yeah, that's not the difference in the game, but you still have to find ways to execute the easy ones. You can't go 5 for 10 at the line.
Yes, and of course now what you'd like to do ideally is bring this into a single-digit differential by the first media break if you're Coach Smith and company.
That last foul was on Pickett. That's now 3 on him, first against Riverside. So Pickett, who was really limited in the first half, has not scored yet in this game. Now goes back to the bench.
Now, as Coach Smith told Megan, can they stay closer on shooters? Can their rotations quicken? He's right on the adjustments that the Mustangs need to make here in the second half.
Cheatham down low, runs into traffic. 6 to shoot. Kabellis dumps it down low. Oh, he blew the dunk. McWilliam couldn't flush it. Harwell in transition. No good.
Now they meet Kabellis and driver, and McWilliam just missing on the flush. But if you're Cal Poly, every stop is beautiful.
Cheatham.
Gorgeous move by Cheatham. Lefty scoop in the paint. Just good offense.
And Cheatham's in double figures. He's got 10 with 5 boards. McWilliam 11 and 5. Kabellis a dozen. And Martin's added 8 off the bench. The leading scorers right now for UC Riverside up 19. Good slash by Smith. It's going to be a foul call. They almost could have called a goaltend there the way the net was grabbed. I think it should have been a goaltend, quite honestly. They're going to call that on Khy Kabellis.
And we see Cal Poly getting into the painted area there.
And that should have been a goaltend.
Could have been, yeah. Now, again, Cal Poly getting to the free throw line, an opportunity to cut into the deficit with the clock stopped. Smith, of course, like another coach on the floor, plays with a very high IQ.
Started as a walk-on at Cal State Fullerton. His dad, John, being an assistant at the time. Now joining Pops up in slow.
Now, last possession, Cheatham was able to operate unabated one-on-one coverage, because when the Highlanders are shooting so well from 3, you're reluctant to double down. They switch that pick and roll, a little bit of a mismatch, and see if they go a little mouse in the house action if they can find Cheatham.
5 to shoot. They do find Cheatham to the basket, and they're trying to take the charge with Jacola. They're going to call it a block. Free throws coming for UC Riverside when we come back. All Highlanders tonight on cruise control up 17.
Think about this. In this era of analytics and so much information, to have the ability to distill it and have the players execute the game plan, which he told Megan about, and to hold people to 61 per night, I don't care who you're playing. Yeah. That's a very impressive statistic.
No, they have really improved defensively, and you talk about some of the top teams in the conference. You know, UC Irvine and UC Riverside are in that top half, and they are the two best defensive teams in the league. I don't think that's disputable. Couple of free throws there for Cheatham.
Yeah, it's just so important. It's vital. You know, in today's game, again, you need to have balance, but defending has got to be one of the pillars of your program.
Taylor can't get it to go. Cheatham launching. Money. He's got 15.
Cheatham with great range. We've seen him operate in the paint. We see him stretch the defense. Creates great spacing when he's a threat from downtown, Trent.
Cheatham's a junior. He's the Highlanders' leading scorer and rebounder. A transfer from Washington State. I think Cheatham is Riverside's best player, and he's just getting better. He's a matchup nightmare. He's had a couple of quiet games, only 5 points each of the last two, but to bounce back with 15 tonight, a good sign for Riverside. Smith. Jamal gets it. Ends the 5-0 run.
Good ball movement by Khy Kabellis. Good catch and shoot by Smith. Mustangs say, we're not going anywhere. We're going to hang around here a little bit. We're going to make this interesting. This is the Big West.
Cheatham gets held up, cutting through the middle. It's going to go against Mark Crow with a couple of threes in the first half to spark a rally to get the Mustangs back in this game, but Riverside found a way to respond. Again, with less than 15 minutes to go in this game, Highlanders on cruise control.
And to amplify your point, Trent, when we talked to Coach Patrick, we asked him about culture, he talked about rebounding, defending, taking care of the ball. That's how you get to postseason, having those types of characteristics. And like Michael Malone with the Denver Nuggets says, you know, it's hard to beat yourself and the opposition on the same night. And this has been a very low turnover game. Just 4 turnovers for the Highlanders and just 4 for Khy Kabellis. It's been a pretty clean game from that perspective for both squads.
McRae with a double on.
Look at the ball movement.
Cheatham in the corner again. He's got 15, his second tray, now 18 points.
Multiple touches. Got to give McRae a lot of credit for not panicking in the post when he recognized and absorbed the double team. Terrific ball movement.
A stop underneath. Give credit to McRae for the block. Just got a finger on it.
Look at McRae run the floor. He wants it. Let's reward the big man. That's right. Feed him. Give it to him.
Muscle McRae.
This is like a replay, Trent. Look at this. Same possession almost.
Riverside looks really good right now. A good look for McDonald. He didn't get it, but that was a good offensive possession. Meanwhile, Khy Kabellis missed 6 of the last 7 shots.
Yeah, you can tell the unselfishness of the Highlanders.
Nolan Taylor stops the run.
Nice touch by Taylor. The perseverance that he's demonstrated fighting through injury. Great resilience, mental toughness as well.
I'm just impressed by how quick this turnaround has happened for David Patrick. And they still have a ways to go. But they are legitimate. They're a legitimate threat in the Big West, which has not been able to be said about this UC Riverside team in, oh gosh, maybe since 2009.
And you know, Trent, I've tweeted this out from time to time. You know, basketball ain't that easy, but it ain't that hard either. And Rome wasn't built in a day, but it got built. Sometimes if you just keep it simple, you attract quality assistants, quality recruits, you can turn it around. Especially if you believe it, you have the cohesion, the team congealing. I mean, look at tonight. Look at the numbers. You've got 19 made field goals on 12 assists. Okay, so great sharing of the basketball.
A 20-point game right now. 12:48 to go. You know, I just think about Dikembe Martin, Dragon Elkaz, Zach Watson. You know, the list goes on and on. There's several of these guys that a season ago were key players in getting starter minutes and starting a lot of games. Now, many of them are role players or in very different roles just because there is so much more talent at UC Riverside. I think McCray's gotten a lot better, too. He's had to earn his minutes for the big man. Elkaz, fake open, late night on a Thursday here in Riverside.
Elkaz, I love his body language after that. He said, hey, I didn't call it, but we'll take it. It's not the schoolyard. It's going to count.
When it rains, it pours for the Mustangs. That's a bad shot. Even that went in. Alexander through the middle. It's a nice flutter.
Absolutely. Alexander with the great mid-range game. But with the Highlanders, Trent, I think what happens too is you recognize as a player that it's about winning. It's not about the individual accolades. It's about building a program, sustaining it.
It's going to be a goaltend, which means 2 more points to UC Riverside. Well, the Highlanders dominating right now, up in large part to Elkaz. UC Riverside lighting it up from behind the arc. So far tonight, 10 threes, 48% for UC Riverside.
Yeah, they have done a terrific job. They kind of established their offensive game, getting the ball to McWilliam in the paint, to McCray et al., and now diversifying their scoring from downtown as well.
Colby Rogers been quiet tonight. Scoreless, has missed all 3 shots he's taken.
That'll happen with freshmen, making the adjustment to the college game, trying to find it.
I've heard a lot about Rogers. I'm excited to see what he will become. Meanwhile, a 3 there by the other number 3, DJ McDonald. Getting his first minutes of big last play. Knocking down a 3. First bucket in conference for the freshman.
We got a lot of basketball in front of us here too. So how does Cal Poly respond to this deficit? And then for UC Riverside, it's kind of like third world, the old reggae group. Now that we found love, what are we going to do with it? How do you handle success up 26 at home?
I think if you're Cal Poly and John Smith right now, I think you just want to see fight and heart in your group.
I
don't lay down.
Yeah. It's that compete level that Kenny Atkinson of the Brooklyn Nets talks about. I concur.
Basket's good by Junior Ballard. I mean, it's one thing if you get beat. It's another if you quit. And you want to see him compete and keep this thing going. And they're doing that right now. Ballard picks up a foul.
And you hear guys talk about that around the game, like Vinny Del Negro. How you win and how you lose, it matters. And particularly,
he was an assistant under Dedrick Taylor at Cal State Fullerton, now playing together, coaching together in the same league. Dedrick Taylor still remains a close confidant on the head coach. John Smith saying, I'd be a fool not to reach out to him, and he and I have bounced things off one another. During the tough stretches of my schedule, he's reached out to me and told me to keep my head. You're doing the right things. Keep doing those things. You know, it's great to have somebody like that in your corner, and I'm grateful to have him. I think in games like tonight, growing and learning is not only as players, but as a coaching staff for what works for your team.
And Cal Poly's been through a lot of that, and thanks for bringing that up, because John Smith had to deal with that at Cal State Fullerton, like we've talked about before. I mean, Hey, Cal Poly did not get a Division I win this year until December 7th when they got a return game from Siena at home. So it took a long time before they could get any taste of winning. They play really well in their second Big West game. They get a win at home against CSUN. Then they go to Honolulu. They're in that game to the last possession, a hard place to win. There have been bright spots for Cal Poly, but tonight they've been few and far between.
Yeah, and you know, it's so important as we see Ballard here taking it to the rack against McWilliam. You know, coaching is such a tough profession. Listen, success has 1,000 fathers, and failure is an orphan. I fancy myself a coaching consigliere. You know what I mean? I like to text coaches when times are going rough. You know, when your phone is not blowing up. And I'm sure that Coach Smith, of course, appreciates the support of Coach Taylor and others in the profession. Because it's a tough, tough job. But like you said, you articulated it beautifully, Trent. There have been some bright spots, and every evening is another opportunity, and tonight a lot of teachable moments here for the young Mustangs.
It's a build, and Cal Poly was non-competitive last year in the Big West Conference. Just 2 conference wins and a lot of room to get better. But for John Smith, in many ways, he's got a clean slate up there at Cal Poly.
And again, this is a program that in 2014 they went to the tournament, beat Texas Southern, the NCAA tournament that is. David Nwaba, who was toiling so well for the Brooklyn Nets before the devastating Achilles injury, really coming on as a two-way player. It had such an impact on the Brooklyn roster, his unfortunate injury, so wishing him the best in his recovery.
I remember when Nwaba came up with the Lakers, they put him on a 10-day contract. I'm like, oh, cool, yeah, David Nwaba, that's great. I remember him at Cal Poly. And then he goes and he plays in another 10-day contract. The next thing you know, here he is over 3 years in the NBA. He's had one of the better NBA careers of a Big West Conference player in a long time. Khy Kabellis, left elbow, 2. No. Alan Williams spent some time in the NBA. James Ennis of late. Rebound no good. Layup no good.
Ennis has had a long career, successful career.
Oh, yeah.
Not to mention that too many to mention, Trent, the players toiling professionally throughout the globe.
Right. A lot of good Big West players overseas. You have to call me Dragon Elcas. It's the corner tray. 71-44. Cal Poly has not won a game this year when they have given up more than 70 points, and it's not looking good for them tonight, to say the least.
Good look there by Colvin, the local product out of Cal Poly.
Elcas again. Round 2. John Smith's got to stop the bleeding. Timeout called by Cal Poly.
Now listen, Riverside averages 6 made threes in league play. They've made 13 tonight. And like you said, we talked about how do you handle success. A teaching moment when you're on the positive side of the ledger there with the 3-point celebration, which Patrick kind of quieted down.
Cal Poly won here at Riverside 74-47 a year ago. It's one of the strangest Big West scores of the season last year. Meanwhile, here we are 74-44 the other way right now with 7:42 left. And UC Riverside right now is probably thinking they can score 100.
Yes, it's been an offensive barrage here by the Highlanders.
13 threes, over 50% for UC Riverside. UC Riverside is shooting better from 3 than they are from 2 in this game.
And again, you know, that last 3 that we got a good look at by Elcas, it was just a slow closeout by Cal Poly. So that's another teachable moment here for Coach Smith, that got to make guys drivers when they're shooting it that well from 3.
Elcas, heat check, no good.
Another example there. You want to be in the passing lane, close out hard, push him off the line.
Not an ideal shot right there for Jamal Smith. Riverside still with their starters getting minutes here late. Pickett's three.
Sometimes it's just contagious. Highlanders absolutely feeling it. We talked about it earlier, Trent. It's like a hula hoop.
Ballard hits it on the other end. I feel like this is the kind of game I've seen at 24-Hour Fitness.
Good screen by McCray and roll.
McCray gets in. He'll get a couple of free throws. Good job by Pickett to find him as the Highlanders continue to press on.
And Megan talked about this with Coach Smith at halftime, being slow on the rotations. Remember, as UB Brown says, the roll man is the rotation man's responsibility. And McCray feeling it, sensing that he can get to the basket almost unabated, gets to the free throw line.
McCray, really an improved player this year for UC Riverside. From New Zealand, got 3 double-doubles this year. McCray, 5 points, 3 boards tonight, but really clogs up the middle. And it's good for creating that inside-out game, gets both free throws.
Yeah, you're right, Trent. Very nice balance to this Riverside offense.
Ballard in traffic. Gets his own rebound. Ballard wants it.
Yeah, we talked about him in the open. Good effort here by Cal Poly. Some good energy. Now you got to see if you can get a couple of stops.
Elkaz left alone. Dragon Elkaz, another tray. He's got 4 of them tonight. They have not been competitive tonight. This has been a clunker for Cal Poly. But I expect this from this Mustang group, as I will from any John Smith team. I expect them to bounce back and show resiliency.
Yeah, no question about it.
I like Ballard. Gets it going up.
It's like that Mark Twain saying, the inability to forget is infinitely more devastating than the inability to remember. So it's all about the next play, the next practice. And this is what makes those good moments so special when you've paid your dues, gone through the tough times.
Meanwhile, for UC Riverside, I'm impressed by what we've seen from the Highlanders in this game. Saw them last week struggle at UC Irvine in their last game. Lost that game by 16 points despite out-rebounding UCI. They won their first 2. Everybody was all on the UC Riverside fan train, which hasn't been around all that long. Then they lose 2 games, and people start to wonder. But, you know, Riverside is showing that they can be a competitive team for the top of this conference. And when it comes to tournament time, they have more depth. Like I say,
so they will be a tough out. That's somebody that you just do not want to see come tournament time.
I mean, if they shoot the 3 ball like this, 54%, 15 made threes in this game. They're a good 3-point shooting team, and they are lighting it up tonight. They average 8 a game. They're almost double that. 30-point lead right now for UC Riverside here on this home beatdown over Cal Poly. Kabellis to Watson underneath. Count it, and 1.
See, now that's another teachable moment there. They pushed the 3-point shooter off the 3-point line, but again, you're just slightly slow on the rotation, and then you're kind of in that neighborhood of do I foul, do I not foul, and Harwell commits the foul.
Zach Watson was a major piece of the rotation a year ago. Now here he is late in a 33-point game. Taken away by Pickett. Bad pass right into no man's land.
I really like that jump stop by Ballard. Trent avoiding committing a charge, but an errant pass.
Ballard's had 14 points tonight. Smith has added a dozen. Jamal, that is. And Watson with 5 quick points for UC Riverside. Crow a 3 on the other end. Watson a rebound. Watson is really battling right now. He is saying, hey, wait a minute, I need minutes in crunch time. I don't want to be in garbage time. And he's trying to earn playing time right now. I tell you, I talk about this in spring training baseball all the time. Every pitch matters in baseball, especially in spring training, for somebody. Every second matters for somebody in a game like this.
Yeah, absolutely, Trent. That's very well said. And again, that kind of speaks to your point on the depth of this roster of the Highlanders. So important to push your teammates and have that kind of systemic respect, talent, effort.
I really think second to UC Irvine, UC Riverside has the most depth in the Big West.
Yeah, I can see that argument for sure. And you just get into that accountability and chemistry. It's vital.
Elkaz has had a big night tonight. Gets that one. 14 points for Elkaz. 10-2 run for UC Riverside as they pile on here. You know the Highlanders are eyeing 100.
Very well within reach, too.
Already have the most points they've scored all season tonight with 89. They matched that against San Diego Christian, a non-Division I game. Most they had in the D1 game was 80 at San Jose State. Pickett. Most points all year long for UC Riverside. They have put up tonight as they're up 39 on Cal Poly.
Nice straight line drive by Pickett.
Colvin with the take. And Riverside has done this without George Wilborn III tonight. Transfer from UT San Antonio has not played in this game. Typically a starter for them. Take us to a timeout. Final 3:19 when we come back. Does the Highlanders, do they get to the century mark? That's about all we're playing for right now.
Lost both his father and his mother to cancer. It's a disease that seems to have touched the lives of more and more every year. His wife was in attendance tonight, and she was passing out T-shirts, as you'll see in the stand, some of those pink T-shirts that fans are wearing tonight. It's a cause that she's spearheaded, and that is just such a special and important night here in basketball all over the United States.
Thank you very much for that, Megan. 93-54 our score here tonight with UC Riverside rolling. Both coaches sporting pink ties tonight. I don't want to ask you who's rocking it better because I got to say both are pretty styling. To the basket goes Joe Alexander. Count it and one chance.
Yeah, such a great cause, and terrific to see such great support here on the campus of UC Riverside, and as Megan so well articulated it throughout the country. Yeah. You know, you look at the numbers, Trent, and UC Riverside plus 27 points in three-point differential, plus 8 in the paint. Offensive explosion tonight.
Joe Alexander was a starter at the end of last season and started his 4 games this year. He's in double figures with 10 tonight. Ballard led the way with 14. Jamal Smith's added a dozen for Cal Poly. 3-ball is in and out there by Karoma. As for what we've seen from the Highlanders in this game, 4 in double figures. Cheatham's got 18. Elkaz added 14. Kabellis a dozen. McWilliam 11 points. And then Dikembe Martin and Dominic Pickett with 8 and 7 each. To the basket. Take by Harwell.
Nice finish. Good concentration by Harwell. And of course, for the Highlanders, they've got to head up the coast. Take on Santa Barbara next.
That'll be a really interesting test for both teams. Layup missed underneath by Manning. For UC Santa Barbara, I mean, they cannot afford another loss. Kroll launches a three, hits it. I mean, if UC Santa Barbara is legitimately going to be a contender in the Big West, they haven't played UC Irvine yet. Still 2 meetings against them. They already have 3 losses. That's going to be critical. And then we'll get a real idea of just how legitimate UC Riverside is, I think, after that game. And they are showing right now that they are a force in this conference.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how the carryover will or will not take place this weekend for both squads. As Cal Poly needs to bounce and a tough opponent at Irvine.
Manning wanted to alert all of Riverside that he was bringing the house down with that last launch. He gets fouled going up, 2 free throws coming.
Now, you know what? Manning just showed up on the Ontario Airport traffic controller report. Scheduled for takeoff. Manning.
That was some serious airtime. 96 seconds left. Well, for Cal Poly, it doesn't get any easier. They're at UCI on Saturday night.
Big test of your resolve. And
Jamal Smith with that last foul is his 5th, so he's done. 12 points, 4 rebounds, and an assist tonight for the coach's son, Jamal Smith.
And again, you know, you look at Irvine's loss last night at Long Beach State, which we talked about. He's got to take it one game at a time. Anything is possible.
Manning hit a big 3 early on in this game. Cal Poly's actually on an 8-1 run in the last 2 minutes.
That was a harbinger of things to come, that Manning 3, Trent.
Yeah.
You mentioned it really was, right? It kind of set the tone.
Well, it was tight at the time. I mean, Cal Poly was very much in this game. A 2-point game, close to midway through the first half. McDonald.
Off the dribble.
He's got 9 points. Pickett the rebound. I told you they're trying to get to 100. The fans want to see it too. Taken away. Oh, Crow spoiling the party. Shot clock is off. Bauer to the basket, lays it up and in. 33-point differential right now. Riverside just going to walk it up. 97 points tonight for UC Riverside. 16 made threes for the Highlanders in just an absolute beatdown of Cal Poly. UC Riverside snaps their 2-game losing streak, bouncing back with a statement, 97-64 over visiting Cal Poly.
I love Pickett and